What's up, America? Guess we're gonna give the country up without a fight. What's going on right now is absolute hysteria. It makes absolutely no sense. Um, it's solemn times like this when we're in real danger. And you don't see people outraged. You don't see people getting upset. You just kind of see them just letting it go. We're at the point where our bureaucrats have decided that criminals, career criminals, and what they want matter more than working class Americans who pay for everything in the city, in the country, rather. But yet you have no bail laws in New York now. Basically, you can just do whatever you want to and you get right back out. There's a couple in St. Louis who had a mob break through their wrought iron gate, come into their neighborhood 300 deep. They were afraid for their safety, and they did exercise their Second Amendment right, which I fully support. Matter of fact, if I had been there, I would have exercised it with them. Matter of fact, if the man called me today and said he needed some help defending his property, I'll be on a plane tomorrow. I'm not with all of the narratives. I'm not going to bow down to any of this bullshit. I've said it several times, and I got to commit, and I have committed to my beliefs. My beliefs are based on Christian fundamental values. I am a constitutional conservative. I don't fall for none of the bullshit narratives that a lot of people do. The numbers don't reflect what they're saying. We see how Chop, Chaz, whatever you want to call it, out in Seattle, we see how that turned out. They were protesting a fake narrative to begin with, but then once these are the same people who say we don't need any border walls. They say we don't need any Second Amendment rights. They say that, the police are totally evil. Well, let's look at that. The first thing they did was build a wall. The second thing they did was arm themselves. And the third thing they did was start stopping and frisking everyone. Then on top of that, all of this started because they said that black men were being murdered. And what do? They go and murder black men. The hypocrisy on the left is just blatantly out there. And nobody calls it out. Everybody just goes on about their daily lives like it's not going to matter. I'm going to tell you what is going to matter. We have an election coming up in November. If the Democratic Socialist Party take control of the Senate, if the Democratic Socialist Party, meaning Joe Biden, who is mentally gone, he won't be running the country anyway, his handlers will. If he takes control of the presidency, we're done. We are done. And, a lot of people will say, well, that's just fear-mongering. No, it's not. Look at their policies. Look at the policies. That's all you have to do. If you take a look at each and individual policy as it's written and what it is. If you take universal income, we can't afford universal income. Just can't do it. You know why? Because the part of the country that works cannot support the part of the country that don't work. It's just not fathomable. Why should certain people be expected to go to work and earn a living so that it can be redistributed to others? That's not what this country was founded on. You look at universal housing. Well, that's a crock of shit. I've got to pay for my house. Everybody should have to pay for their own home. That's not something that's universal. That's not a God-given right. That's a get up off your ass and work for it right. Universal health care. You can't say that something's a God-given right when somebody has to perform a service. If you have doctors out there and they're performing a service, that is not a God-given right. Them men and women worked hard to get where they're at. They went through a lot of school to be able to perform that service. It's not a God-given right. If it was a God-given right, you could do it without having somebody educated in that field. If you look at what's going on right now, we are pulling up the criminals and the people who do not contribute to society. We have petulant children running around our country, tearing down statues, using mob force tactics to intimidate, to make people afraid, to try to bully people around. And we have police under attack. These are heroes. 20 years ago, these were heroes. 30 years ago, these were heroes. These are heroes. These are people that put on a uniform every day and go out there and risk their life for public safety. And what are we doing? We're defunding them. We're taking away, and now we're even saying, hey, if you get attacked, you can't respond to that. And they're even wanting to make it where it's a misdemeanor to attack the police. What in the hell are we doing? What are we doing? You know, I've said it and I've said it. I don't know how many people's listening across this country. Obviously, I don't have a large platform. But you know what? I've still spoken up and I've still said it. I'm going to keep saying it. Get your head out of your ass. Okay? If we allow this country to turn over to mob rule, if we allow this country to turn over to democratic socialist rule, the working class Americans, middle class to lower income people, will be the only one to pay. Get this through your head. The social elites will not. They can afford their own security, so they don't have to worry about Second Amendments. They will deem to be more valuable than you. They will still be allowed to have all their rights. You will not. You will, even if we did do debt forgiveness, guess what? Everybody can't be a doctor. Everybody can't be a lawyer. Everybody can't be an engineer. They'll stick you with an aptitude test and tell you what they will pay for you to do. We've got to get out of this. I mean, I look at it, and I'm 41 years old. For the first time in 41 years, it's not that I'm not proud to be an American. It's that I think America is dying. And I don't know how to react to that. And it's not the working class that's killing America. It's the bureaucrats, it's the politicians. The Democratic Party, as horrific as their values are, as horrific as their history is, you've got to keep in mind, these are people who started a civil war over slavery. Once they lost the Civil War, the Union troops, or you might as well say the Republican troops, this is when we actually had Republicans with backbones. Now we have a spineless group of Republicans that don't deserve to serve. They're like, it's getting to the point where I feel like they're the gum on the bottom of my shoe, because that's how spineless and cowardly they are. I doubt very seriously if I saw any of them in public if they could look me in my eye. That's how spineless they are. But they won the war. They stationed Union troops in the South. Then, after that, the Union troops left the South. At the moment the Union troops left the South, the Democratic Party started going back to race baiting and hatred. And what they did is they formed the Ku Klux Klan. Okay? After they formed the Ku Klux Klan, they did more and more and more things, all the way up until the 1964. And you can go find these facts for yourself. I'm not saying something that you can't find for yourself. The fact of the matter is the Jim Crow laws, the poll taxes, and the aptitude test, the reading, writing test, whatever they used to suppress the black vote. They had all these things in place. Then segregation. All this was Democratic policies. Every bit of it was Democratic policies, but everybody wants to forget that. We actually had real Republicans back then with a backbone, and that actually had a set of nuts on them, and would go out there and say, nah, that's fucked up. Nah, we're not doing that. They would speak up, and they would actually fight for not just working class Americans. They fight for equality for everybody under the law. This group of Republicans we got now, I don't even recognize them anymore. There's a myth, that after the Civil Rights Act, the Democrats and the Republicans switched parties. All the racists went over from the Democrats to the Republican Party. That's very untrue. As a matter of fact, only one Democrat switched to Republican. There's so many myths around all that. The fact of the matter is, the Democrats never changed their views. The only thing they changed was they said, okay, we tried to keep these people enslaved. We tried to make it to where they couldn't vote. We tried to do everything under the sun. It's failed. So now let's figure out how to control their vote. And they did that by separating fathers from households and making single mothers dependent on the government. That's how they did it. And you may say, well, where do you get all this? Go look. Go look for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Right now, we've got Mike Braun out of Indiana supporting Black Lives Matter as a fake narrative. I'm not going to support a fake narrative. I'm not going to act like I agree with a fake narrative. The fact of the matter is, the numbers do not reflect the narrative. As a matter of fact, the numbers say the exact opposite. As long as we allow these bureaucrats to keep us focused on each other's race, as long as we allow these bureaucrats to keep us focused on rich versus poor, when the majority of them are fucking rich. I don't understand how people miss this. How do you miss this? Nancy Pelosi does not live in her district. She lives in Maxine Waters does not live in her district. She lives in a very affluent neighborhood. She's got one of the poorest districts in the world. You look at Chicago. Chicago, Democratic ran city for 30, 40 years now. What do they have? They have the strictest gun laws in the country. What else do they have? They have the highest crime and death rate in the country from gun violence. Do the math. You take away the firearms and you take away people's God-given right to defend themselves, and the criminals are going to take advantage of that. You do not control the criminals and what they do. You can't control the criminals because they don't follow our laws. But now we're going to defund the police. We're going to go after the people who do control the criminals because, and I'm just going to say it like it is, people can get pissed off if they want to. Rashard Brooks was a career criminal. He was in the process of committing a crime when the police approached him. He attacked the police. He tried to shoot officers with tasers, which just the week before, 5 black police officers were fired for using deadly force because they used tasers. So in a week's time, we just forgot about all this. And then we said, oh, well, we didn't have to do that. Why not? Someone's committing a crime. Someone attacks police. At that point, they try to run away. Who's to say if we let them go that they will not injure someone else? Some innocent person won't get carjacked at the red light. You know what? Maybe he'll get up and drive drunk tomorrow and kill a bunch of kids. What the hell is going on with you people? I can tell you now, and I know this. I know there's a lot of people across this country who believe the same thing, and I hope they're a silent majority again like they were in 2016. And I hope we retain the Senate. I hope Trump wins again because Trump's not a politician. We need to get rid of these politicians. They're not worth a shit. We need to get blue-collar, working-class Americans in the House, in the Senate, in the presidency if it takes it. If people have never worked in their life and had to struggle and try to fight their way through life, then I don't need them on Capitol Hill telling me how to live my life. And I'll tell you why. Because they don't know how to live my life. They've lived in a sheltered little bubble their entire existence. They went to Ivy League educated schools, and they think they are better than we are. They're not better than any of us. Just because we get up and put on some work boots every day, just because we go work 70 hours a week, we pay all the taxes for this country, that doesn't make them better than us. They were born in a different class than us. Even if you're born in a lower class, you can fight your way out of it. Many, many, many Americans across this country do it. This is the greatest nation that has done the most good on the planet throughout history. Throughout history. And we're letting it go down in flames without a fight. I'm embarrassed. Embarrassed of all the fellow Americans out there who are okay with this and who don't speak up, and who, you got to understand, if we stay silent, they're going to go further and further till we don't have any rights left. And it's just like everybody's clueless to this shit. As everybody in America became that big of a coward? Is everybody in America too afraid to stand up on their fucking feet and fight than to sit there and be ran over? I don't think so. I think everybody's comfortable, and we became very civilized over the years. And I think that we're headed down a path that will either A, destroy this country, B, the country will not be recognizable, or C, will lead us directly into a civil war. I could be dead wrong. Maybe Americans have become cowards. I don't believe that, and I hope not. I never thought I'd see this day. I can 110% guarantee you, if I was in those people's position in St. Louis, I would have done the same exact thing. I would have grabbed my guns and I would have defended my home. I can tell you now, that mother who called 911 begging for help while her child was in the car crying because these people were jumping up and down on her vehicle. If I had been there and I had seen that, I would have ended it. The different people who have been attacked and brutalized by these mobs that have been killed, I don't understand it. We used to have morals. We used to have morals that said, hey, if I see this, I will not allow it. The country has not always been perfect. Nobody is implying that. But we learn from mistakes. Everybody in life learns from mistakes. These petulant children running around that seem to have the largest voice in the country right now, the problem is they've never had to learn from any of their mistakes because they've never been corrected. That's a failure on our part. Parents have let these children get totally out of control. I mean, you look at our Congress. Look at AOC. AOC is dumb as a box of rocks. She was propped up by George Soros and his group and elevated into a position that she knows nothing about running. She does not have the common sense it takes. Hell, she doesn't have the common sense it takes to change a fucking light bulb. And we've got her running Congress? She needs to go back to pouring beers and freaking bringing out finger foods, because that's the only thing that she's good at. She damn sure is not good at Congress. She is trying to lead the country because she is in effect almost a Speaker of the House because Nancy Pelosi is too old and incompetent to fucking do the job. What the hell is wrong with people? Wake up. 30-year politicians need to go. I don't give a shit if they're Republicans, and I don't give a shit if they're Democrats. They gotta go. These spineless, coward Republicans the ones that want to basically bow down to the mob and get on their knees, if they did that in front of me, I'd kick them in their face. They don't deserve to be where they're at. I'm to the point where I do not understand it, and I'm not going to understand it. And I'm going to keep speaking out. And I hope people across this country grow a sack and start speaking out. Because if you don't, you won't have a country. And I'm going to tell you, at the day when that vote goes down and we lose this country, after however long it takes, 3 weeks, a month, 3 years, hell, I don't know. I'm going to sit there, and everybody who goes to whining, I'm going to look at them and say, fuck that, you did it. If you didn't cast your vote the right way, you did it. Because it's obvious the signs that are out there of what is going on. We will be turned into a socialist, communist state, without a doubt. It will not be equal protection under the law like we have had in our country for years now. It will not be that. It will not be rule of law. Criminals will run society. But y'all just keep sitting back, keeping your mouth closed, don't do nothing. We'll see how it goes, okay? I'm disgusted right now with our country. Disgusted. Who would have thought that the country that has done so much would have become a group of fucking cowards?